Shalom! We have asked a few of our friends what their favourite verse of Torah is for this Simchat Torah. Chag Sameach and enjoy!
Here we are in the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, in the desert. The people are complaining about Moses as they always do. I think this time it's about meat, or it's about that there were cucumbers in Egypt, and they don't have any cucumbers. They're really upset, and it's terrible. Moses has had help from he's told God it's too much. He's had 70 elders come and help him prophesy, to help him to spread the load of his work. And then there's two rogue prophets, Eldad and Medad, two elders who keep prophesying, and they don't stop. So Joshua runs up to Moses and he says, Moses, Eldad and Medad are still acting the prophet. You've got to stop them. And then Moses says to Joshua, Vayomel Moshe, Hamukaneh atali, umi yetein kol ha'am Adonai nevi'im, ki yeten Adonai et rucho aleihem. Moses says back to Joshua, would that everyone was prophet. He says to him, are you wrought on my account? Are you jealous on behalf of me, of them? Would that everyone were prophets. And I just love this moment. First of all, what an amazing journey Moses has been on. From being the kind of main leader to understanding the need for everyone else to be leaders. And I just this Simchat Torah, I really want to celebrate all of Torah. And this is one of the texts I want to celebrate. Because for me, this is a thing about, it's like saying, Daniel, you don't have to hold on to all of the things. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everyone. The more people that can be involved in supporting and building community together, the better the community will be. And Moshe is our role model here.
My absolute favourite book of Torah, I can't pick a verse, is all of Deuteronomy. It's just amazing. It's epic. It's like Moses there giving this grand speech of everything that the Israelites need to know before they enter the land. It's got all of the key phrases, be mindful of strangers, man should not live by bread alone. They set up a judicial system, everything, the Shema, you name it, it's in there.
My favourite verse of Torah is Leviticus 19:18. Do not get equal with one who has done you wrong, or keep hard feelings against the children of your people, but have love for your neighbour as for yourself. I am the Lord your God. This is my favourite quote because it's just full of love and forgiveness, because life's too short to be angry at people all the time and hold grudges. So just get over things that really don't matter and get on with things and be friends.
My favourite verse of Torah is from Exodus 23, and it's verse 5. And it says that when you see your enemy's ox overburdened with a load and he's fallen down, that you should help him up. I love it for two reasons. One is it reminds me that the Torah calls us to find our best selves, even when we don't really feel like being them. And two, because the Talmud uses this source as a reminder that we shouldn't treat animals badly. So I love it because it reminds me that I'm part of a wider part of creation, and that it helps me find sources in Judaism for some of the ways of behaving that I think are most important.
My favourite verse of Torah comes from Deuteronomy 29, and it's verse 14. But you need the setup. You need this bit that comes a few verses before. In verse 9 it says, Aten nitzavim hayom kulchem. You are standing this day before God. And it's the children of Israel at the end of Torah reasserting their covenant with God. Then my favourite bit is a few verses later. It says, this is for everyone who is here and for everyone who is not here. And I find that totally amazing and totally powerful, that the covenant with God is not just the people that were standing there in the desert at that moment, but also everyone that wasn't there. That means everyone. That means us. That means everyone in between. And I'm excited to celebrate that verse of Torah, the Simchat Torah.
My favourite verse of Torah is from Psalm 23. God is my shepherd, I won't want. It means I don't need anything, or I'm not lacking in things. Here's the verse, and I have it on my around my ring as well. Adonai ro'i lo echsar. And what I've noticed is the word ro'i has resh ayin, which also means ra. And it plays with the word that something can be both good and bad. So a ro'i is someone who accompanies you through the bad as well as the good. So when I'm feeling sorry for myself, I think Adonai ro'i, I have God and people who accompany me. And when I'm feeling very sad and sorry for myself, I think lo echsar. Actually, I'm very lucky. I have love and health and people around me. So this is the counterbalance for when I'm feeling sorry for myself. Adonai ro'i lo yachzar. God and people are with me when it's ra, and I'm not lacking in things, really.
So my favourite verse of Torah comes in the book of Vayikra in Leviticus. Now we're all familiar with the verse of Torah that says V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, which says love your neighbour as yourself. But generally loving our neighbours are often similar to us, so it's not necessarily such a hard task to find a way to love them. But just a little bit later on, we have a verse talking about the ger, the stranger, and there it says V'ahavta lo kamocha, and it tells us that we should love the stranger as ourselves. So it increases that circle ever wider. So it's not just about loving our neighbour, it's also about loving the stranger, the person who's different from us. That's a much harder challenge for us, but when we can do that, then we can really fulfill the holiness code and really do some special things in this world.
My favourite verse of Torah is Bereshit, in the beginning. When God was about to create heaven and the earth was chaos, unformed, and on the chaotic waters' face there was darkness. That is my favourite verse of Torah because it's the first story that we hear as Jews, and it's the creation story, and it's where we began, and I am so excited to hear it this Monday on Simchat Torah.
So, my favourite bit of Torah. It's in Exodus 33. We read it very recently on Yom Kippur, and essentially you've got Moses standing on Mount Sinai. He's receiving the second set of tablets, and he asks God if he can see all of God's glory. He wants to see everything that God is. And the answer from God is, no, you can't handle the truth. And for me, this is a really essential piece of Torah. And it's really important for me that it's part of the revelatory story. Because it's telling us that if even Moses can't see all that God is, even our greatest leader can't see all the truth, then certainly none of us can see all the truth. But when you combine that with the narrative that's going on, you've got 600,000 Hebrews and Erev Rav gathered around the foot of Mount Sinai, looking up and experiencing this moment differently. All are seeing it from their own perspective. Depending on what angle they're looking up at the mountain, they're going to see something slightly different, and they're going to tell the story slightly differently. We only get the full story when we hear all 600,000 people telling it. So not only does no one person have the truth, but we only get the full picture when we listen to a huge multi-vocality of people. And I think it's really beautiful that that's at the core of Torah, at these moments of revelation. No one has all the truth, and we have to listen to lots and lots of people telling their truths. We can learn from everyone, and I love that that is at the heart of Torah, because it therefore sits at my heart and my core theologically in how I approach my Judaism and in how I approach other faiths and how I approach the world. And that's my favourite piece of Torah. Chag Sameach.
So I think one of my favourite stories in Torah is when Jacob wrestles with the angel and gets renamed, becomes a new person. Because it's this really big point in his life, and he goes through a process of insight and tackling with himself and with outside of himself, and the name change is a performative act which changes his identity, and I'm fascinated by names and identity and what those mean and the performative act of changing that. I think it's fascinating.
We just love the Torah. There's more there.